Hello, good afternoon. Welcome everybody. My name is Inês Cerqueira and I am the Managing Director of the House of Portugal. We are based in Johannesburg, South Africa, and thank you so much for joining us today. Apologies for a little bit of a hiccup in terms of technology. Sometimes reception is very uneasy to navigate. And today we are going to discuss about examples of Nordics doing business in very exciting African markets such as Angola, and which are the differences and the different perspectives on approaching the same matter and the same angle. How do an Angolan sees a situation and others, a Nordic, sees that same situation. And that is why I've invited you to come here to join me today so we can have open discussion and a very broadened view about first steps on how to do business in Angola. And at the end of this session today, I'm also going to ask you if you have further interest about continuing with these discussions and even about language and business culture in Angola, and also business culture with the Nordics if you are an Angolan entrepreneur or business person. Above all, as I said, my name is Inês Cerqueira and I was born in Angola in 1972. 3 years later, in the independence war, I left Portugal to meet with my father after he had a stroke. And my mother still stayed behind to hold on to our home in Luanda. Yet eventually in 1980, she came and joined us, and so I was brought up in Portugal. I had all my education, my studies in Portugal. Later in life, already an adult, in 2008, decided to return to Africa and established in South Africa as a Senior Trade Commissioner Assistant of Canada to Angola, out of Rosebank here in Johannesburg, South Africa. I have changed mandates since then, and I've also been sworn in as a commercial counsel and political advisor of Denmark to Angola before the former president dos Santos, and later as senior advisor to Finnish Ministry of Economic Affairs Trade Agency Business Finland as the senior advisor for the region. As an Angolan Portuguese and have pushed for Nordic interests in Southern Africa and assisted the implementation of many developing impactful projects in Angola, I am comfortable to discuss and address some ways of doing business in Angola with you that might be and feel very foreign to Nordic businesses people and not so much for Angolans. Yet, flexibility and understanding of each one's backgrounds hopefully shine some light that not at all is really bad and not at all is easy, or preferably we would have to change, and we all have to change and we will all have to adapt and find some common ground to enter these exciting partnerships. At the end, Angolan businesses require the expertise and investment of Nordic companies. And Nordic companies have all to benefit from gaining clarity and access to an exciting and wide range of opportunities in Angola. So let us start. Many Nordics and Europeans in general arrive in Angola as expats. What they can't foresee is that they will fall in love with this country and for its people. Most of the times ending up marrying and having children who then become dual citizens. And before we lead much more into discussion, let us see who in the meantime has joined our conversation. Please leave us either your name or your company, or at least the city and country where you are watching and participating in this discussion with us. Okay, well, So let us continue. It's no secret that Angola is experiencing some trouble, some problems. There is a political, dormant, but latent economic crisis, constant problems in relation to security. There's a huge social inequality, and now the oil paradigm has changed. This product will not be as expensive anymore, and the countries that have it will no longer be richer. In the past, I had many theories about the system of government, colonialism, economic policies, etc. But recently, I came to a conclusion. A lot of people will probably find this conclusion of mine somewhat offensive. But after exchanging several ideas with my Angolan network, they all have encouraged me in order to promote investment from Nordics in Angola that Angolans could only benefit to hear from an Angolan born in a very Nordic, assertive way. How can we make it happen? And perhaps we're both need to meet. So there you go. You want to know what is the problem? Well, the problem is you. You are the problem. You both, Angolans and Nordics. Yes, you that are watching this live yourself, you are part of the problem. Not only you are a part, you are perpetuating the problem every day. And Angolans, it is not just the fault of former President Dos Santos or the ruling party or getting this and that and because of this and because of that. It is not just for the fault of the price of oil, the increase in the dollar, or the devaluation of the kwanza. The problem is culture. It is the beliefs and mentality that are part of the foundation of the country and are responsible for the way in which Angolans choose to live their lives and build a society. Please don't get me wrong, I love Angolan. I am Angolan at heart and by birth. The problem is everything that we Angolans, so I will say you, and everyone around you decided to accept as part of being Angolan, even if that is not right. Would you like an example? Okay. So imagine that you are riding in a friend's car at night. You went to the Ilha and so forth, or you just went to a restaurant and you come and you're going on your way home and you pass a dark and totally empty street. The conversation is good and he's not paying much attention when suddenly he pulls out the mirror of a super expensive car, like a Prado. Before anyone sees, he speeds up and leaves. The next day, you hear a co-worker you barely know saying that he left the car parked on the street at night, in the night before, and he woke up without a mirror. From the description, you discover that it's the same car that your brother crashed without meaning to. So what do? A. Be quiet and pretend you don't know anything to protect your friend? Or tell him that you are sorry and force your friend to take responsibility for the mistake? I believe that most Angolans would choose alternative A. I also believe that most Nordics would choose alternative B. In more developed countries, the sense of justice and responsibility is more important than any individual. There is a social conscience where the whole is more important than the welfare of one. And believe me, I know what I am saying. And because it is one of the main pillars of a functioning society, ignoring it is a form of selfishness. So, to our Nordic listeners, Angolans are supportive. They sacrifice and do everything for their families and closest friends. Therefore, they do not consider themselves selfish. I understand, though, that for a Nordic, Prioritizing family and close friends over other members of society is a form of selfishness. So let us hold these thoughts. Let us think about all the news we hear about those corrupt politicians, businessmen, policemen, and teachers. Have you ever stopped to think why they are corrupt? I guarantee that most or almost all of them justify their lies and hoaxes by saying, I do this for my family. They want to give their relatives a better life. They want their children to study in better schools. And they want to live more safely. It is curious to see that when an Angolan arms another citizen to benefit these families, he finds himself altruistic, and the Nordic finds the Angolan corrupt. In a nutshell, Nordics and Angolans would be in agreement that altruism is giving up one's interest to benefit a stranger, if it is not for the good of society as a whole. So if an Angolan business person can assure that we'll have the sake of the business as a priority, I can assure you that the Nordic partner would make sure that its Angolan partner was happy, with a family well attended for, and happy to invest even more. Another misconception about the doing business scenario is that Nordics are too relaxed and Angolans are too uptight. True. Nordics, you cannot enter a ministerial or corporate meeting wearing open sandals or open shirts because it's hot in Angola. Deal with it. Angola is sovereign and no one likes to be offended in their own turf. On the same hand, Angolans, you certainly do not need a three-piece suit, a market world-renowned tailor, and a gold Rolex when you are welcoming a business partner which you desire to attract investment in technology and funding, do you? As well, being someone as vain is considered an insult to the Nordics. So we just need to use common sense and meet in the middle. Remember, a Nordic will not hire a helper to iron his shirt. He or she will do it herself, and that is just fine, even if they are ministers or ambassadors, believe me. Another cultural matter that is tremendously important to observe is time management and timekeeping. Angolans, do you want to frustrate your Nordic potential investor? If you do, continue not replying to emails or confirming meetings last minute, or even arriving late to meetings and making your investor wait. On another hand, Nordics, do not expect a clear meeting plan 2 weeks in advance with contact details and clear agenda points, or even if at the meeting you are faced with an entire administration board for that only short 2-slide PowerPoint that you had prepared and thought that it was clear enough. It is not enough for you to know that your technology is the best and that you are number one in the world. You will need to articulate why your Angolan partner, why your Angolan client wants to do business with you and buy your technology. And lastly, Angolans, don't expect you to speak Portuguese at their meetings, and Nordics don't expect Angolans to speak Finnish either, or Danish, or Swedish, or Norwegian. What starts to be common in the world is that everybody holds a decent level of conversation on the 21st world commercial language, which is English. Nevertheless, Angola, due to its GDP can be looked as a very rich country, but in fact it has first world, country needs. It's a third world country in terms of needs, and first world country sometimes in terms of also capabilities. So my piece of advice, if I am allowed to you, for both of you, is that like anything in business, don't assume. Clear the need to have an interpreter present, and if you are really eager to make business with each other, enroll in that language course. After all, Apple and Android apps and tutorials are available mainly in English, and you do just fine with them, don't you? No. And now I would like to have your questions and also your recommendations and suggestions. Would you be interested on knowing more about doing business with Angola? And would you be interested on knowing and gathering access to make business with the Nordics? Please let us know. Send us your questions, or even if you are here right now, let us see if you have left any comment. We will soon be opening our website, www.thehouseofportugal.com, and we will also be bringing you some news about exciting markets as Angola, as technological partners and competences, technology, innovation, funding, financing, but most exciting now to start is to understand the language and the business culture behind it. So watch this space and find out what exciting news we have in regarding to working in Portuguese with Portuguese here at the House of Portugal. Take care and have a very pleasant evening.